Let's get started with roll call. We can start with Deanna.
Thoman here. Villanueva here.
Adam Clore here.
Lewis here.
Beck here.
Kevin Burford, present.
Hannah Snyder, present.
Okey-doke. Moving on to public discussion of anything not on the agenda. Okay, cool. Then moving on to certificates of appropriateness, starting with 1107 East College Street.
Good evening. My name is Sam Broderson, and I'm an associate planner with Neighborhood and Development Services. The first project I will be presenting tonight is 1107 East College Street. (1107) East College Street is a contributing property in the East College Historic District. Here is the home at 1107 East College. It is a two-story, four-square, single-family dwelling with colonial revival details. The home was built around 1911 and reflects the architectural patterns of the College Hill area. Originally, the house had a half-width open porch at the rear. The rear porch was removed and a single-story rear addition was constructed in 1985. The proposed project involves the replacement of an existing deteriorated deck on the eastern side of the house. The railing of the deck will be constructed in compliance with the historic preservation guidelines. The applicant is also proposing an ADA compliant handrail on the steps of the front porch that will be constructed in compliance with the guidelines as well and match the existing railing on the front porch. This is the area of the front porch where they are proposing the handrail. You can also see the deck, which is proposed to be replaced on the left at the eastern end of the dwelling. Here is a photo of the deck, which is proposed to be replaced. Here's another photo of the deck that was submitted by the applicant. And here's a photo showing evidence of the deterioration of the deck, including holes in the decking, loose railing posts, and this photo is provided by the applicant as well. Here is the site plan that was submitted by the applicant that shows the location of the deck on the parcel. And here is the plan for the proposed front porch railing, which is being requested for accessibility assistance. As the photos show, it is designed to match the railing of the front porch. Section 4.1, Balustrades and Handrails, recommends constructing or replacing missing balustrades by using historic photographs or by choosing a style that is consistent with the architectural style of the building. It also recommends providing handrails on porch steps as required by building code. The handrails should match the historic balustrade height on the porch unless otherwise specified by the building code. The handrail must have a continuous member that can be easily gripped. The handrail should either match the porch balustrade or be made of round steel pipe. Section 5.2, Decks and Ramps, recommends locating a new deck on the back of a primary building opposite the street-facing facade, designing the decks so that the size, scale, and location do not detract from the character of the district's rear yards, attaching decks to the building in a manner that will not cause damage to a historic exterior wall or other historic materials, and also following the guidelines from Section 4.1. Section 4.1, Balustrades and Handrails, disallows using unpainted treated wood for elements that would have been painted in the historic application. It also disallows using wrought iron elements unless they were part of the historic design. Section 5.2, Decks and Ramps, disallows constructing a deck between the street and the street-facing facade if it detracts from the neighborhood or is not compatible with the architectural style of the existing building. It also disallows leaving balusters and railings unpainted if they are highly visible from the street. There are certain components of this project that do not meet the historic preservation guidelines. The guideline that the project does not meet is locating a new deck on the back of a primary building opposite the street-facing facade. And the reason that this project does not meet this criteria is the proposed deck replacement will be located on the eastern side of the single-family dwelling due to existing site topography. The topography of the site slopes down at the area of the deck, and there is a door there. And if it's not replaced, the owners feel they might not be able to access that part of their dwelling. Staff's analysis concluded that the proposed wooden handrail meets the criteria of section 4.1 and matches the architectural character of the existing railing on the front porch. Staff also finds that the eastern deck has significantly deteriorated in a way that supports the replacement, and failure to replace could present a safety and access issue for the property owners. Although the historic preservation guidelines typically require that porches be placed in the rear of the dwelling, the existing site topography prevents access to the eastern side of the single-family dwelling if the porch is not replaced. The Historic Preservation Commission can only approve the proposed deck replacement through the use of several exceptions, and in this case, the commission would need to refer to section 3.2 exceptions to the Iowa City guidelines in uncommon situations. If the commission determines that an uncommon situation exists and that warrants exceptions for the conditions which are outlined below, and that those conditions will not substantially alter the architectural character of the home, they can recommend approval. As a reminder, the condition that it doesn't meet is locating the new deck on the back of the primary building. Staff is recommending approval of the certificate of appropriateness for the deck replacement and a new front porch handrail at 1107 East College Street as presented in the staff report. That concludes my presentation for this project. I turn it over to the commission for discussion.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff?
I'm curious, so, and this is Thoman speaking, for all the materials, it will be wood, all of it? The handrail and the deck?
Yes, the handrail will be painted wood, and the deck will be wood.
Okay, and the deck, is there a plan to paint that as well? Or,
The existing deck is unpainted currently. If I can go back a few slides here, there is a photo that I think shows it quite well. There is screening on of plants that sort of limits the visibility of the deck. As far as I know, the plan is for it to be unpainted.
okay. And I think you've got a photo of the front of the house. Can I see that one again? Okay. Thanks.
I have one question. Lewis speaking. You had in here that we would need to approve it through an exception because there are several violations of guidelines, but I only see the one that it's on the side, not in the back. Is that correct?
So the exception that I believe is applicable in this case would be uncommon situations due to the topography and the potential access issue for it. It only requires one exception in order to approve the project.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was more we were worried about. Okay. Any other questions? Cool. Does the owner want to say anything? Sweet. Okay, and then do we want to make a motion? If we can get the motion back up here.
Excuse me.
You're good.
Villanueva moves to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the deck replacement and new front porch handrail at 1107 East College Street as presented in the staff report. What else do I need to add?
Mention through an exception.
Through an exception to the guidelines. Through an uncommon situation exception. Cool? Great.
Any seconds?
Snyder seconds.
Thank you. Commission discussion.
I would agree that this is a reasonable exception, given the truly uncommon situation with this particular property. So,
Yeah, this is Lewis as well. The deck seems to be more of a walkway than a true deck, I guess, to me, but I don't know if that's a distinction that I'm allowed to make, but it does feel more utilitarian than just like adding something on.
Seems more like a ramp,
Yeah,
Yeah.
accessible ramp.
agreed.
This is Thoman. I'm curious what the setup was back when they built this house, if maybe there was a stairway going up to that door that did go down that little incline. I guess I'm curious too. I know there was mention of the porch handrail being added to help with getting into the house and having access. I'm wondering if maybe it's a mobility issue too, that I realize that would be outside our purview, but it would be helpful, I guess, to know that. But I guess also just adding that the front of the house, you really don't see that. I assume that was taken from the sidewalk
Look like it.
point of view, so that you see vegetation, you don't see that side. But yeah, again, just kind of curious about the situation.
Yeah.
If I can just jump in briefly, the way it was explained to me is that the property owners at this particular residence have lived there for several decades and are now in the process of aging and are requesting it to help with just a potential mobility issue,
Okay.
as you discussed.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other discussion? We good to vote? Okey doke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okey doke. Moving on to 428 East Jefferson Street.
Okay, the next project I'm going to be presenting today is 428 East Jefferson Street. The property at 428 East Jefferson Street is a contributing property in the Jefferson Street Historic District. This is a two-story American four-square with Prairie School elements. It was constructed between 1912 and 1920. It has a low-pitched hipped roof and no dormers. The porch, which has been enclosed, has a low gable roof. The home has white aluminum siding. Recently, the building functioned as a duplex. The owners have converted it into a single-family dwelling. Due to this change, the access provided by the stairs they are proposing to remove is no longer required. The goal of this project is to remove the staircase in the rear of the dwelling and to replace the existing railing with a wooden railing that meets the historic preservation guidelines. The guidelines from section 4.1 balustrades and handrails recommends constructing or replacing missing balustrades by using historic photographs or by choosing a style that is consistent with the architectural style of the building. It also recommends installing turned balusters in balustrades that have an actual diameter of 2 inches or greater, or square spindles that are 1.5 inches or greater in width. It recommends installing top and foot rails that are at least 2 inches in thickness, and it disallows using unpainted treated wood for elements that would have been painted in its historic application. Section 7.1, demolition of whole structures or significant features, recommends removing additions or alterations that are not historic and that significantly detract from the building's historic character or that are structurally unsound and are a safety hazard. Staff's analysis for this project concluded that the proposed project would result in the removal of a non-historic alteration, specifically the rear staircase. It would also replace the existing deck railings with wood railings that align with the guidelines. Staff has found that this proposed project aligns with the guidelines for demolition, as the staircase is not historic and the existing handrails do not align with the guidelines. The replacement handrails would be made of wood and painted. Staff recommends approval of a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 428 East Jefferson Street as presented in the staff report, which includes the removal of the rear staircase and the replacement of the existing deck railings with wood railings that align with the guidelines. That concludes my presentation for 428 East Jefferson Street. I turn it over to the commission.
Thanks. Any questions for staff? think I have the question. Is this coming to us just because it's the removal of something?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the bit that's going to be, so will it just be kind of a platform above that? There's a second story door. Is that what we're talking about? The railing that will match?
Yes, it's essentially going to function as like a balcony or a deck, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Owner? Do you want to say anything? You don't have to if you don't want to. Okay. Okay, cool. Do we have a motion?
Beck moves we approve a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 428 East Jefferson Street as presented in the staff report, which includes the removal of the rear staircase and the replacement of the existing deck railings with wood railings that align with the guidelines.
Burford seconds.
Commission discussion.
Looks like an improvement to me. Burford.
Okay, well then, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okey doke. Thanks. Moving on to 215 Brown Street.
Okay, the next project I'm going to be presenting is 215 Brown Street. 215 Brown Street is a contributing structure in the Brown Street Historic District. The house at 215 Brown Street was built about 1915 as a two-story wood-frame Georgian Revival and late stick style dwelling. The dwelling is a typical American four-square with exposed rafters and has been extensively remodeled through the enclosure of the front porch, construction of a rear addition, and the addition of elevated attic dormers to create a third floor. There have been many original windows replaced, and there have been numerous skylights added to the structure. The project being proposed today includes the installation of 4 mechanical units to service the single-family dwelling. One existing air conditioning unit on the eastern facade will be removed. 2 new mini-split air conditioner units and associated piping will be wall-mounted on the eastern facade. A new air conditioning unit and a new mini-split unit and associated piping will be placed on the western facade of the single-family dwelling. Here's a photo of the western facade. Here's a photo of the southern facade. And here's a photo of the location on the western facade where the mechanical units are proposed. And here's a photo of the location of the mechanical units on the eastern facade. I'll also note that due to the house being very close to the side yard property line and fence, they weren't able to get as clean of a photo of this facade as they were with the others. Here are some slides from the plans that were submitted from the project. This is the title sheet. And here is a floor plan showing the locations of the mechanical units as well as elevations of where they're proposed to be located. The historic preservation guidelines do not include specific recommendations for mechanical systems because they rarely impact the exterior of the historic building. The specific guidelines that will be used to review this project are Section 10, the Secretary of the Interior's Standards for Rehabilitation, which state that the historic character of the property shall be retained and preserved, the removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize the property should be avoided, distinctive features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize a property shall be preserved. New additions, exterior alterations, or related construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property, and new additions and adjacent or related new construction should be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. Staff's analysis for this project concluded that the need for the installation of an air conditioning system is not subject to historic review, but the location of any exterior mechanical units and any exterior piping is. The proposed mechanical units will be located on the eastern and western facades of the dwelling, away from the front northern facade. No associated piping is proposed to be located on the front facade of the dwelling. The associated piping will run to the areas of the dwelling that they are proposed to serve and will be placed tightly to the soffit of the roof where possible. The proposed mechanical units will not alter the historic character of the property. The removal of existing mechanical units and the placement of new units and piping will not result in the removal of historical materials or alteration of features or spaces that define the historical character of the property. If the mechanical units and piping are removed in the future, it would not result in any impairment of the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment. All distinctive features and historic materials will be preserved through the installation and maintenance of the mechanical units. Today, staff is recommending approval of a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 215 Brown Street, allowing for the placement of 4 new mechanical units and associated piping on the eastern and western facades of the single-family dwelling, with the following condition: that all associated piping be painted to blend with the building behind it. That concludes my presentation for 215 Brown Street. I turn it over to the commission.
Questions for staff? This is the same question. I assume this comes to us just because there's no guidelines for these things, or because, yeah.
Yeah, so they're making an alteration to the property through the addition of the mechanical units and the piping, and as a contributing property, that's why it comes to you.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for staff? There's no people in the audience, so no owner. Do we have a motion?
Burford moves to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 215 Brown Street, allowing the placement of 4 new mechanical units and associated piping on the eastern and western facades of the single-family dwelling with the following condition: all associated piping is to be painted to blend with the building behind.
Beck seconds.
Okay, commission discussion?
I guess I'll make a comment. Snyder speaking. I manage 730 North Dubuque Street, which is the property directly next to this property. The photos that are in the slide and presentation, they're on the physical, like the property of Brown Street. So that being said, between like the retaining wall and the surrounding fences and all of that, you would not be able to see these whatsoever from the street. So I just wanted to make a point of that.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, you're right. This place is really
It's-
tucked in there.
the photos taken on there, and I'm familiar with the property because I manage next door. They're like in the driveways, one of the photos, like physically in it on both sides. So, but if you were to stand kind of off of the street, like not physically on the property, you can barely really even see the house. That's just, I wanted to make it a point of that.
Yeah, this is Lewis. We've had issues with mini splits before, but it's because they were like impeding, they were extremely visible, impeding certain architectural things, but these don't seem to be the case here, so.
In a way, but I think it's because last time they did it without asking us.
I think that's exactly what
That was
happened.
why,
Yeah.
There might also be a little bit of confusion because we have a minor review allowing staff approval
Okay.
for radon installation, but we do not have that for mechanical equipment such as this.
Okay. Okey doke. Any other commentary or discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okey doke. Moving on to 1036 Woodlawn Avenue.
The next project I'm going to be presenting tonight is 1036 Woodlawn Avenue. 1036 Woodlawn Avenue is a key contributing property in the Woodlawn Historic District. The house at 1036 Woodlawn was built about in 1895 as a 2-story late Victorian Queen Anne single-family dwelling. It is roughly square in plan with a high-hipped roof rising to a peak. The proposed project includes the removal of an existing deteriorated northern chimney at the rear of the dwelling along the northern facade. The applicant is also requesting approval of the replacement of a second-floor through-wall air conditioner with a Genweld double-hung wooden window. The second floor through-wall air conditioner was installed as part of an approximately 1950s system. There's no photographic evidence of what preceded this air conditioning system. The framing visible from the interior and the trim on the exterior appear to match an adjacent window, suggesting it was originally a window opening that was removed in order to install the air conditioning system. The air conditioning system failed in 2025 and was replaced with a modern one. As such, the through-wall air conditioning box has no function and cannot be reused. Here's a photo of the interior framing of the through-wall air conditioner. The single-family dwelling contains 3 chimneys. 2 are ganged at the center of the house and 1 is at the rear. The central pair of chimneys are constructed from smooth-faced bricks and are visible from Woodlawn Ave. The northern chimney is built from dark vertical score bricks. The northern chimney has a cracked cap, substantial mortar loss, and is leaning. The roof-to-brick flashing is insufficient, leading to moisture intrusion into the dwelling, and the northern chimney is not visible from the primary facade on Woodlawn Avenue. Here's another photo of the chimney that is proposed to be removed. And an additional photo provided by the applicant of the chimney. The Historic Preservation Guidelines for Chimneys recommends adding a flue liner to historic chimneys for safety reasons, keeping flue caps as inconspicuous as possible, following the recommendations for masonry repair in section 4.8, and repairing and capping unused historic chimneys in a manner that prevents vermin from entering the chimney but allows air circulation. Section 4.2 chimneys disallows removing prominent chimneys that are important to the historic architectural character of the building. It also disallows plastering over masonry chimneys in place of proper repair, pointing with mortar that is too hard for historic soft brick, using synthetic sealants, adhesives, and/or wraps to repair masonry chimneys. Section 4.13 Windows recommends adding windows that match the type, size, sash width, trim, use of divided lights, and overall appearance of the historic windows. It also recommends adding new windows in a location that is consistent with the window pattern of the historic building or buildings of a similar architectural style. Section 4.13 Windows disallows installing modern types of windows, including sliding, awning, casement, and bay windows when they were not original to the building, consistent with the architectural style or required for egress. It also disallows installing metal, vinyl-clad, or vinyl windows on primary structures or on contributing outbuildings when they were not original to the building. It disallows using between-the-glass grills or snap-in grills to achieve the appearance of divided lights, and also disallows introducing new window openings into primary elevations. Section 7.1, Demolition of whole structures or significant features, recommends removing additions or alterations that are not historic and that significantly detract from the building's historic character or that are structurally unsound and are a safety hazard. It also recommends removing non-historic buildings and structures that detract from the historic character of a district. Such buildings should be replaced with buildings that are more compatible with the district. Section 7.1 disallows demolishing any primary building on a contributing property within a conservation or historic district or any Iowa City historic landmark. It also disallows removing any historic architectural feature such as a porch, chimney, bay window, dormer, brackets, or decorative trim that is significant to the architectural and style of the building. Staff's analysis found that the northern chimney is significantly deteriorated in a way that supports the removal of the chimney located on the northern end of the dwelling away from the prominent street-facing southern facade. The northern chimney is not a prominent component of the structure and it does not contribute to its historic significance. Removal of the northern chimney would be consistent with the Iowa City Historic Preservation Guidelines for alterations and demolition. Staff finds that the replacement of the through-wall air conditioning system on the second floor of the northern facade with a new window is consistent with the historical late Victorian Queen Anne single-family dwelling. The proposed double-hung wooden window matches the type, size, and overall appearance of the historic windows. The framing and trim of the existing opening indicate that this location is consistent with the window pattern of the dwelling in the Victorian architectural style. The new window will be located in the rear of the dwelling and away from the primary facade. The new window type and location is consistent with the Iowa City Historic Preservation Guidelines. This case is unique in the sense that the applicant has requested 2 considerations for the overall project, one for each component. For both components, the chimney removal and new window staff is recommending approval of a certificate of appropriateness. That concludes my presentation on 1036 Woodlawn Avenue. I turn it over to the commission. Thank you.
Thanks. Do we have any questions for staff? I've got one. Lewis speaking. The meeting packet, and I guess this is saying that the chimney is not architecturally significant, or however the wording was. Why? Just because on the back of the house, or?
I believe it's because it's located on the rear of the dwelling. It was also noted that the brick does not match the central pair of chimneys on the dwelling.
Okay. Okay.
And I have a process question. Will we do each motion separately, or can we do them all together? Does that matter?
It was requested for separate motions.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have a motion just for the first one right now, I guess?
Villanueva moves to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 1036 Woodlawn Ave, allowing the demolition of the northern chimney.
Snyder seconds. Oh, sorry.
Commission discussion?
Andy, I see what you're saying about, if you look at that back picture of the home, the chimney seems pretty significant, and it looks gorgeous. I understand, if it's cracking and it's failing, and this was a situation with my old home too, where I had a chimney in the back. It was failing, and you couldn't see it from the front, so we were able to take it down per the guidelines. But yeah, there is kind of a feeling of wow, it just soars right up there. It's kind of gorgeous.
Unfortunately, the air picture makes it look really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, but gotcha. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okey doke. Do we have a motion for the second motion? That's
Bowman moves to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the project at 1036 Woodland Avenue, allowing for the replacement of the second floor through wall air conditioning system with a Gen Weld double hung wooden window.
Beck seconds.
Commission discussion?
I like this one.
Villanueva, I'm extremely jealous that they had an air conditioning system that worked for 70 years at that house before they had to replace it.
This is Lewis. The air conditioner in the window right now is technically historic because it was installed in the 50s, but we know that it was installed. It wasn't just I guess that makes sense. We wouldn't have had it earlier. Never mind. Ignore me. Everything's fine. Don't put any of that in the meeting minutes. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okey doke. Moving on to the report on certificates issued by chair and staff, starting with certificates of no material effect and 730 North Lynn Street.
Okay, the first project is for 730 North Lynn Street in the Brown Street Historic District. This project includes the replacement of the existing wooden siding on the principal building in places where there is a significant amount of deterioration. The siding will be replaced with hardy plank with a smooth finish that matches the reveal of the existing wooden siding on the home. The next certificate of no material effect was for 207 East Washington Street, which is a local historic landmark. The project involves the installation of a Conklin Affinity polyurethane roof coating over the existing rubber membrane roof. The existing roof will be cleaned prior to the application of the roof coating. And that's it for certificate of no material effect. Should I move on to minor review?
Go for it.
Okay. The next project is 712 Rundell Street on the Longfellow Historic District. This project involves the replacement of the deteriorated asphalt shingles on the principal dwelling unit and the detached garage. All details of the fascia, trim, and gutter will remain unchanged, and the roof will be replaced with architectural asphalt shingles. The replacement material is IKO Dynasty Performance Series Class 3 architectural asphalt shingles in the color granite black or similar. The next project is for 304 Ronald Street in the Northside Historic District. This project involves the replacement of the deteriorated asphalt shingles on the principal structure. All details of the fascia and trim will remain unchanged, and the roof will be replaced with architectural asphalt shingles. The replacement material is GAF Timberline HDZ Series Class 3 architectural asphalt shingles in the color Golden Harvest or similar. The next project is for 708 Grant Street in the Longfellow Historic District. This project involves the installation of a radon mitigation system on the northeast corner of the northern facade of the single-family dwelling. The PVC piping will be painted to match the exterior of the structure. And then next, we have 638 South Governor Street in the Governor Lucas Street Conservation District. This project involves the installation of 2 new skylights mounted on the western side of the roof of the single-family dwelling. The frame will be colored gray to match the roof of the single-family dwelling. The project also involved the replacement of the existing asphalt shingle roofs of the single-family dwelling and accessory dwelling unit with Owens Corning driftwood asphalt shingles. Moving on to intermediate review. The next project is for 712 Rundell Street in the Longfellow Historic District. This project includes the removal of metal siding and the replacement of existing wooden siding underneath on the principal building. The project also includes the replacement of existing wooden siding on the detached garage. Replacement of the wood siding on the principal building and detached garage will be required due to a significant amount of deterioration. The siding will be replaced with LP Smart Side and Lap siding with a smooth finish that matches the reveal of the existing wooden siding on the home and garage. Additionally, on the principal building, the fascia, window trim, and corner posts will be replaced with LP Smart Side Expert Finish trim with a smooth finish. On the detached garage, the fascia, trim, and corner posts will also be replaced with LP SmartSide Expert Finish trim with a smooth finish.
And that's a non-contributing property, is that right, with the white box?
That's correct.
Nice.
The next project is for 735 Rundell Street in the Longfellow Historic District. This project involves the addition of a rear deck. The new deck will be located on the rear of the existing structure and set back at least 8 inches from the sidewall. The deck will be attached to the building in a manner that will not damage a historic exterior wall or other historic materials. The replacement deck surface will be constructed of wood. The railings and posts will be constructed of wood with balusters. The railing design shall meet the pre-approved conditions outlined in the Iowa City Historic Preservation Commission's Certificate of Appropriateness for railings. The attached drawing was submitted by the applicant. Ignore that last sentence, please. All right. The last project is for 523 Grant Street and the Longfellow Historic District. This project includes the addition of wood skirting to the front porch. There currently is no skirting. That concludes the intermediate review. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to consideration of minutes for July 9th, 2026. Does anyone have any?
I was gone, so no comments from me.
John? Okay. Yeah,
Make a motion and approve them.
gotcha. There's a motion to approve them.
Snyder makes Make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 9th, 2026 meeting. I should have
Beck
copied
seconds.
this.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okey doke. Commission information? Question mark?
Jessica, I just wanted to thank you for sending out the information from the National Trust about the proposed Section 106 changes.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions about any of that, I'm trying to stay up to date about it. But, I mean, part of the goal is to reach out to your lawmakers. Part of it is telling them how it has been good for the community. But you guys don't have Section 106 things that come up very often that you have to review. So if you do have questions, I can email the group, the answer or something if you do have any questions.
Sounds good. Okey doke. Anything else? Awesome. I am adjourning us. Adjourned.